We we wait until 10:05, or or we can.
Yeah. Want to start that opening statement?
I do.
Questions.
You have something to say, right?
I have something to say.
Good. All right.
We are thrilled to be here at this point in the season. 16 teams left. This is an exciting time of year. It's a tough time of year. The girls are in finals at the same time. But this is what we've been training all year for, and we have a very tough opponent in Oregon, and we're ready to go, and we're hopeful that we can get some good fan support, even though it's at an earlier time of the day. So really would love to see, especially a lot of the students, come out and support us in what is a huge moment for our team.
Coach, you mentioned, I think after the Oklahoma game, that you weren't going to be looking too much at your first game against Oregon going into this matchup. Did you actually even look back at that matchup heading into tomorrow, and what have you seen from Oregon that has changed over their season?
Yeah, I did go back and look at it to answer your question, and I think they pulled Mimi from all but one of the passing rotations, so they're freeing her up to hit a lot. And I don't know this, but it seems like Noemi's a little bit stronger than the start of the year. And just I think that was I think they're just as with any team, their setter hitter connection is better. They're more comfortable with each other, and but those are a few that jump out.
Emmy, this is your fourth Sweet 16. Do you get nervous at all ever anymore after having done this so many times now?
I would say there's always nerves, but it's more because I'm just excited to be in these big moments again. And I think the experience from the past 3 years definitely helps going in, just knowing the way it feels to be on the court in a Sweet 16. But I don't think, my nerves and excitement are always, for every game there's always those nerves, but in a good way.
Along that same vein, Dan, a lot of these girls do have so much of this experience. When do you sense that really kicking in as an aid along this process? Is this kind of like the Sweet 16, okay, this is where that experience from the past really becomes visible or helpful?
Yeah, I think it's probably unique to each individual how they internalize that. But I think one of kind of the mantras is that we use this time of year is that we don't know if we'll win, but we know we can. So I just think there's probably more than the early days of belief that we know we're good enough.
Coach, how much does your training before these games have changed over the years since it's your fifth consecutive Sweet 16? Have you had a different routine, or is something stuck along the line? You keep on doing that.
I think we're always evolving as coaches and trying to find better ways to get through. But I think the main, it's probably, we use sports science a little bit more than, really try to make sure load-wise we're at our optimal at game time.
Torrey, coaches talked about resiliency kind of being something that you guys had to fight through those first two rounds, but also for most of the season. I'm curious, how does Bree specifically kind of embody that resiliency that you guys have as a team?
I feel like this year is her first time being back after a serious injury, and I think that she just wants to be back on the court, and I think that Bree's personality reflects that. She's a big dog, and I feel like she contributes a lot to that resiliency for each of our games that we're put in tight situations.
Dan, you and the women have brought this Pitt to the pinnacle of the sport across the country without a state-of-the-art facility. Now, a year from now, maybe, or whatever, you're going to have a state-of-the-art facility. How much more is that going to improve your brand and your ability to recruit?
I think it'll help recruiting. I think it'll help fan experience. I'm not the first to say this, but there's obviously a lot of really great pro teams and environments in Pittsburgh, and so being able to, have fans have that level of experience is important. And then also just having we talk a lot about the main venue, but just having our own, practice facility that we can always use at any time is going to be huge.
Torrey and Emmy, I know you guys probably said in the past you prefer to play the Fitz, I guess, which are will be here for the next, potentially the next two matches. So how have you guys used last week to adjust to playing in the Pete? How excited are you to be, I guess, in front of a bigger crowd than maybe you would have been in front of the Fitz?
Well, personally, that's actually the debate on the team, like Fitz or Pete. And I think that Pete brings out like a different level in all of us. I feel like it's bigger lights and bigger crowd, and I think that like to play in the Pete in the big moment is just really fun. And obviously we're adjusting practice-wise, but I mean I'm excited. I think we're all very excited to be here and like have the fans come out to support us.
Yeah, I would second that. Like, I don't really have a preference one over the other. I mean, obviously we have trained in the field house a lot more, but playing in the Pete, it definitely feels like a kind of like a bigger stage, and I think it's fitting for a Sweet 16 matchup to be here. So yeah, we're excited, and we've played here a lot over the season too. Like, we've had a few matches and practices, so I think we're ready to go.
Is it different with some of the sort of practical things, like the lighting's different, or were there shadows or things like that? Or do you pretty much, once the match starts, you don't notice anything like that? You're just playing?
Yeah, I would say like that's easy to adjust to. For my position, I would say like setters may be different, but yeah, it's easy to adjust to.
Yeah, every gym's a little different, just like the way you see the ball, or like the light, like you said, the lighting, the depth perception. But I think we've had enough training in here to be used to it.
Dan, the last time that Brie Kelly played in a Sweet 16, she was on the opposite side of the floor as you guys. Have played for Florida. Since then, she's transferred you guys, dealt with a season-ending injury, and has become one of the best middle blockers in the country, if she wasn't already. How have you seen her grow over that time?
Yeah, well, first off, she played really good in that game. I think. I think she's just. It's hard to go back 2 years, but I just think she's in a really, really good groove. Like, I think she's. I mean, she's obviously unstoppable. Her numbers show that, but I think she's a better blocker, and but mostly I think she's just really, really enjoying playing right now. Really, really grateful to be back from her injury.
When you look at matches in the first two rounds, and maybe both girls can comment on this as well as Dan, but a lot of tight matches. You saw Louisville go 5 sets. How have you noticed over the years these earlier rounds getting tighter and tighter, and just the competition level being raised right from the jump in these tournaments?
Yeah, it's I do think that the level of volleyball is getting better and better, and I think you're going to continue to see, as our sport keeps becoming more mainstream, that early round upsets and things like that you see in other sports. But with that, there's no way to know how these things are going to go. I think there's a lot of talk this year of how many 3-0s there were. I think we've got to be ready for anything. We've got to be ready for 5-setters, and at this point, everyone's really good.
For sure.
And you obviously recruit women with great athletic ability and volleyball skills, but what other things did you look for in your girls or women when you recruited this particular team?
The whole package is what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for, big jump, a big arm, someone who's a great competitor, a great teammate, a good student. But I think the kind of girls we get just really, really value like the team and our time together, and really enjoy being in the gym. And so I think that they're here because they want to train hard and be great. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that jump out.
You always say that camaraderie in your here at Pitt?
I can tell you, team culture has always been very important to me, and we talk about it and sell it on to our recruits that that is something that's a priority, that the family gets thrown out all the time by everyone that recruits says we're a family, but we try to really be that, and we have girls from all over the world, and so we are each other's support group when they're away from their home. So we try to live that.
Dan, building off of that, what is that like seeing all the parents come out to so many of the games when really none of your team is local?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's I think it probably. I mean, I think probably started with like Kayla Lund, and her parents were at every game, but I mean, why wouldn't they be at this point? These are great atmospheres, and if they can work it with their work schedule, I think they should be here.
Is there a different pressure this year compared to years past? Because you're the number 1 overall seed. You've been a number 1 seed, but being the number 1 overall seed, being kind of expected to make it to the Final Four, does it feel a little bit different than years past?
You'd have to ask them. To me, it doesn't. I've noticed there's been more media and there's been bigger crowds, but I think these girls get to this point because they're so competitive, because they're such perfectionists. So it's more just managing that perfectionism and putting it into something that's productive.
But I also think that we try to go into every game as the underdog. We always say underdog mentality. You never want to be too confident, and I think that with the number 1 seed, obviously it could bring the pressure, but underdogs.
Yeah, I think especially at this stage in the tournament, every team is so talented. I don't think we're going into it expecting anything. I think we're just going into it having we're going to hold our high standard on the court, and if we're holding our standard playing the way we train, then hopefully that ends up in a win.
I mean, you talk about being underdogs. You just read a really nice thing on ESPN about you guys being the hunters.
Yeah, oh my
So,
God. I was just, when Emmy was on it, I was like, I'm going to add this. Yeah, we're going hunting, and I think that, it's like hunter versus hunting, or hunted, and I think that, there's just all these things that we talk about, underdog mentality, but then, that's just kind of, attacking the attack. Someone's going to be attacking us, but it's not, like aggressors, so.
Emmy, you and Rachel came in as freshmen together, and you guys are entering in your last NCAA tournament. What's it been like growing alongside her and playing alongside her these past couple years?
Yeah, me and Rach have been through everything together. We talk about it all the time, and especially now, just reflecting on all of the time we spent together. Just super grateful for her and our friendship off the court, but also the connection that we have on the court and the standard we hold each other to. I think we both push each other to be better, even though we're not the same position or something like that. I think, we just work well together, and grateful for this last tournament run with her and these girls.
Dean, without naming any names, how close do you look at the WPIL schools around here as far as your recruiting goes?
We look at it, but the problem with high school season is it's during our season. So the heavier recruiting season is in club.
Torrey and Emmy, when you look at Oregon, what are some of the, I've been asked Dan this start of the press conference, but what are some things that stand out to you? Obviously you have experience against them, but what are some of the things that stand out to you more recently than you've seen from them?
I would say the same thing that Fish said. Mimi and Naomi look like they're strong, and I think their team looks stronger than they were in the beginning of the season. So I feel like we're preparing well for them. And
I think just preparing to be in a lot of long rallies. I feel like they keep the ball in. They use their toolboxes as hitters, and they scrap in the back row. So just our side being ready to go all out on defense and not be impatient. I've rallied out of them.
This team is such a well-established group of veterans and leaders to play under them these last couple of seasons. What has that experience been like for you, and what is so valuable about just the leadership qualities they bring to this team?
I would say, on the court, it's really helpful. I mean, I have Valeria, someone I look up to position-wise, but also, Rachel, leadership, and I think off the court, too. not only are we holding each other to a high standard, like on the court, but like off the court. And I feel like once the veterans leave, it's kind of like the new shoes being filled. So I'm learning a lot from them, especially going into next year and going into next year and taking the leadership role.
Dan, before you became a successful coach, what was your background in volleyball as a younger guy, and what attracted you to the sport initially?
Well, I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, where where volleyball is. It's a hotbed for beach volleyball, and it is mainstream there. And so I just from probably the '84 Olympics were the first time I remember seeing it. But I was always around it. You'd see guys at the beach playing, but really it was my brother started playing, and I was in the 5th grade, and he needed someone to pepper with in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of that's
Older than you?
3 years older, yeah. So he was Brian. So he was my first coach.
Did he play?
He played.
competitively?
He played in high school, but he ended up playing golf in college.
Were you a good volleyball player?
I was
Great.
I was good. I was good. I played pro for 5 years. I was good enough to play pro, not quite good enough to make the Olympics.
Torrey and Emmy, we were talking earlier about the matches in the first weekend. You guys got sweeps in both, but all the sets were pretty competitive. You guys have experience in the postseason, but was that kind of a good, almost reminder of how hard you have to work, just point to point, just to emerge when you're in this kind of setting?
Yeah, I feel like Emmy said a little earlier, like not being impatient and rallying it out of them. I think that defense is really important to us, and I feel like having high effort in that and then just, grinding it out of them each point. I feel like every point kind of matters. We talk about that in our gym, like doing it now and not waiting till like the next one and after that. So, I feel like that's really important going into these next games.
Yeah, I would also say at this point, we're just expecting that every team's going to play their best against us and give us their best. I mean, our seasons are on the line in the tournament. So, just going in knowing that it's going to be hard no matter who we're playing.
Dan, are you on that every point matters? Are you even looser with challenges in this setting than you were during the season, or does your approach not change on that?
I don't think it changes with challenges. No, I'm probably the only thing that changes is the cameras in the Pete are a little bit more zoomed out, and so some of the maybe like the micro touches I might hesitate to go, okay, are we sure that, because it's not about whether it's in or out or whether it's touched or not. Usually we know. It's about whether it'll look like it on the, on the camera angle. So that there is maybe a little more hesitation to be like, okay, are we going to win this one?
Torrey or Emmy, is it a little bit different because this game starts 30 minutes after the game before? Is like how you get prepared change at all? Because what if like one set is good in 4 sets, but a team comes back and it goes 5? Does that like change how you're getting ready for the game at all?
We actually talked about this with our sports psychologist last week, and you always kind of want to have a routine of things, and like if something gets out of whack, like what are you still have like that one thing to like get you in your mode, I would say. So I don't know, adding on to that, like.
Yeah, I think just being ready to adapt, but also staying true to our typical routines before the game. I mean, we usually come out at the 30-minute mark to warm up anyway, other than the setters come out a little bit earlier. But, yeah, I think we also have, like, the option to, like, go get touches in the practice gym before, so we'll probably utilize that. But in terms of keeping the same routine, I think just it's our job to kind of think about it beforehand, like, not letting it go, like, as the time passes right before the game, like thinking about it tonight, like, oh, when do I want to be doing these things that are in my game day routine?
Mm-hmm.
Any last questions for coaches and athletes? Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Dan, is